back to Prime News on HLN. How could a 25-year-old man go to a sleep clinic and die? Brandon Harris is having trouble sleeping. Thought he might have sleep apnea. Went to the clinic to see if that was the issue. So he went to the Emory Sleep Center in Atlanta for help. Checked in January 22nd and was dead by the next morning. A sudden cardiac death. Now, that doesn't mean he had a heart attack, and the county coroner says there is no evidence of any wrongdoing. But Brandon Harris's family says they saw video of him right before. We're talking about the minutes before, waving for help roughly 7 times before he collapsed. We'll get to the bottom of this story. We'll take your calls, 1-877-TEL-HLN. Join me to talk about this, Brandon's mom, Sunshine Lewis. Also with us, his uncle, John, and the family's attorney, Thomas Cuffey's with us as well. Guys, thanks for being with us. Sunshine, I'll start with you. Our condolences. I'm sure you can't even... I'm sure you're still in shock. How are you holding up at this point?
Just by the grace of God.
That's all it can be at this point. Sunshine, what's your goal right now? You just want more of an investigation, more questions you have, I'm sure, and you want some answers, right?
I want answers. I'm asking for Emory to do the right thing and release the video. All the answers are there.
Okay. Let's bring in Brandon's uncle, John. John, you saw the videotape that I just mentioned?
Yes, I did.
What did you see? What happened in the lab? This, obviously, I hate to even say it, but it was the last moments of his life. What happened?
Well, we came in and saw the video, I guess maybe within the last hour or so of his life. And when we first began our viewing of it, he appeared to me to have been asleep, and he sort of awakens and discovers that he is in some type of distress or trouble, and he begins at that point to wave for help, for someone to come to him, which he does about from 7 to 10 different times. And of course, no one comes. Finally, he, being in a very weakened state, he manages to get up to the side of the bed, at which time he sits up and disconnects himself, and at that point, a nurse comes, well, the woman comes to the door, and in fact comes in the room and goes over to the bed, and at that point, he goes to the restroom. She leaves out of the room while he's in the restroom, and of course, I couldn't see the restroom, but I'm just assuming that that was where he went. And sometime later, she came back, and goes back to the bed. Obviously, he was not comfortable in bed, and he gets up. I'm thinking that he's saying that he's more comfortable standing, and then he sits back down, and eventually he sort of leans on his right side and sort of slides down, and eventually just collapses on the floor. And at that point, it is my feeling that he was gone at that point.
And then emergency personnel arrived at that point?
Well, not immediately.
Not immediately.
There was some time, I'm not sure exactly how, in terms of minutes, how long it was, but it wasn't immediate that they came in.
Let me read the statement for Emory Healthcare, then John will talk further about what your conversation entailed. But here's the statement from Emory. It's saying that all times during the sleep study, Mr. Harris was monitored and the providers appropriately attended to him. According to the post-mortem examination, Mr. Harris died because of, I'm quoting here, sudden cardiac death, meaning that his heart stopped suddenly and without warning. Emory has provided Ms. Lewis and her representatives with medical records, including the autopsy report, and shown the video. It's the video John and I were talking about. Emory cannot release the video recording of the sleep study because it must be viewed on special software. Because Ms. Lewis has retained an attorney, Emory cannot have any further contact with Ms. Lewis or her representatives and cannot comment any further. John, as you spoke, was there an ongoing conversation with the people at Emory as you were watching this tape? And what were they telling you about the care that he was getting as this was going on?
Well, that was basically no conversation with the people from Emory. At one point, I made a comment saying, why isn't it that someone's coming in? He's in distress. It's very obvious to me that from the very beginning of viewing the tape that he's in distress. Why isn't someone coming in to his aid, his rescue? And the guy at that point says to me, "Oh, he's waving to someone." I said, "You wave in the opposite direction of yourself. You don't wave in this direction to greet someone," which is saying to me, that it was just, it's just unconscionable to me, all of what I witnessed in that video.
Yeah, I'm sure it was very difficult. You clearly saw him waving toward him.
He was waving in his direction for someone to come.
Okay.
And that's very obvious. That can't be mistaken. And all we're saying is, show the tape. The evidence is there.
Sunshine, you have not seen the tape, right?
I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that's where you come from, right? You just want more questions and more answers to find out when he was asking for help, what happened, right?
Absolutely. I just want to know why someone didn't respond to him when he was asking and literally begging for help. Brandon never complained about anything. In life, he never complained. He was a very happy child.
Joining us now, family attorney Thomas Cuffey. Thomas, how are you going to get an investigation and get some of these questions answered when I believe the medical examiners pretty much said they're not going to investigate any further?
Well, they are, in fact, working with Emory. I'm working with Sunshine and her family. We'll use whatever legal remedies that are available to require Emory to give over the tape to us. I believe, based upon what Bishop Lewis has said, Brandon's uncle, that the tape will tell the full story. Mm-hmm. The tape will speak for itself, and that's what we are intent on getting, and we expect to get that.
John, let me ask you about, he had sensors on him, so he's asking for help with the sensors still on him. Will those sensors tell us anything from what you know? Will it show if his heart was if there was heart trouble at the time?
Well, from viewing the video, as I said, once he manages to sit up on the side of the bed, he begins to pull them off himself. And in so doing, at that point, this is when the nurse comes in, which says to me that there must have been some type of an alarm or something connected with the electrodes.
Let's go back to Brandon's mom, Sunshine. Tell us about why Brandon was there in the first place. He had a medical history. What were his medical issues, Sunshine?
He had hypertension as well as diabetes, and they were under control with medications, and I made sure of that.
So was there anything as of late before he went that really alarmed you, or was this just like, okay, let's see if you have sleep apnea and get that taken care of?
No, there was no alarm of anything. Brandon was fine when I took him, and we had wonderful days prior to that, and there were nothing different from the norm.
So he had no apprehension about this at all, this test. He wanted to go and wanted to see if sleep apnea was an issue.
He was okay with it. Brandon was a happy-go-lucky child anyway, so anything that you asked him to do, he was very cooperative about it, and if his doctor recommended it, he felt that his doctor knew him and it was okay.
Gosh, you just sure light up, Sunshine, when you talk about him. Again, our condolences.
Thank you.
What do you want to have happen through this? I mean, we know you want some answers to those critical moments when he was asking for help. Anything beyond that?
I want justice for Brandon. I want Emory to take responsibility for what has happened to my son, because they've hurt a lot of people. A lot of people are hurting from Brandon's loss. There is so much love that Brandon shared with us, and we shared so much love with him.
Well, guys, thanks again for coming to tell your story. Again, just to be fair, Emory says that they followed all proper protocol, and we know that your heart says we want some answers. Let's talk about what happened when he was asking for help, and hopefully you'll get those answers. Sunshine, John, Thomas, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.